Welcome to MLS Cup Central. You are staring directly to the face of the Philip F. Anschutz Trophy. That is the prize come Saturday night. MLS Cup, Toronto FC and the Seattle Sounders. I am Andrew Wiebe. Guys, it feels like just yesterday that Portland Timbers and Minnesota United were kicking things off on opening day, March 3rd. 10 months, 390 games, 1,142 goals later. Here we are. 2017 culminates in one game. MLS Cup, December 9th, Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, Unimas in the U.S., TSN TVA Sports in Canada. The pregame show on TSN starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and our pregame show right here on MLS Cup Central starts at 3, and that's not all we're bringing at you. We've got shows coming the rest of the week, Thursday and Friday at 7 Eastern. Diego Valeri, the Landon Donovan MLS MVP, will be here with us, as will the Defender of the Year, Ike Opara, and Dax McCarty, who didn't win any awards this year, but we love him all the same. And then, of course, the pre- and post-game shows. 3 p.m. Eastern gets things started on Saturday before the big game. Guys, welcome to Melia and Julian Gressel. Matt Doyle, we'll get to you in just 1 second because the most important people out there are right there. That's you, the fans, and you can contribute to this show. You can ask us questions, hit us with hot takes, bring anything you want to MLS Cup Central, and it's really easy. MLSsoccer.com/playoffs, and we've already got a question coming through. Andrew Folcaringa, who I can tell is very intelligent and cultured just by the first name here. He asks, on a day in which Nashville, Sacramento, Cincinnati, and Detroit presented their expansion pitches, quote, who do we think has the best shot at becoming the next two teams? Remember, those two teams will be announced before the end of 2017. I'm going to rephrase. Which city would you like to get a team? Tim Melia, All-State Goalkeeper of the Year, the man with the safest hands in MLS. Take your pick. You got 4 choices.
I'd like to see Cincinnati. This is a team that produced a huge environment and crowd for a U.S. Open Cup game, and if they can turn that into MLS games and that type of environment, that's where we want to play, and it'd be a cool experience to go there and play in that type of environment.
It's been absolutely incredible this year to watch them do their thing in Cincinnati. Julian Gressel, the AT&T Rookie of the Year. Such a great season down south of Atlanta in their inaugural season. Unfortunately, you're sitting at the table with us instead of playing for a trophy, but I'm going to give you a choice. Who are you taking? Cincinnati's off the board, man. You got 3 choices.
I like Nashville. I mean, it's pretty close to Atlanta.
Rivalry?
We'll see. A lot of Atlanta fans, I'm sure, would travel up there, but I also think that for other MLS teams, it'd be a cool city to go to and play.
Music City, hot chicken.
Yeah.
A lot of things to recommend.
That's going to tee you up right there. And by the way, you guys play Nashville in the preseason next year, so we'll get a little bit of taste before they even hit the field in USL. You know him well. Our resident armchair analyst, Cat Daddy, whatever you want to call him. You have no bias, no West Coast, no East Coast. You travel back and forth, so I know you're going to come straight on this one. Let's get to MLS Cup. Fans are flooding our inbox with this question. Sean Curry is going to get the honors here. Is Toronto really better than the 2000 Wizards, which is a little bit of a bizarre comparison there? DC of the 90s, a little bit better. Galaxy with LD and Beckham. Basically what he's asking you is this the best team of all time?
Well, single season, nobody's ever won all 3 major trophies, whether it's U.S. or Canada. Nobody's done Domestic Cup, Supporters Shield, and MLS Cup. And if you look at first of all, the opportunity to do that, but second of all, you look up the numbers that they put up this regular season. They led the league in goals. They were second in goals against. They had the second best goal differential of all time. They were the first team to get over 2 points per game since the 2005 Quakes, and they did it in the tougher conference. No disrespect to Kansas City in the West. I think when you take all those things together, and you play to win the game, you play to win trophies, you put all those things together and they come out of this with 3 trophies, it's not even a discussion. We stopped having this discussion until maybe this time in 2018. It is unquestionably Toronto FC, the best MLS team of all time.
Got to win that trophy, though. Philip F. Anschutz, got to get a piece of that one. We'll get the players' take on Toronto FC in just 1 second. We're here in New York City, but we have an army of correspondents on the ground out in Toronto. Jillian Sakovits waiting on the Sounders there. We'll see when they arrive tonight. Of course, David Goss. How's it going, David? What's up, man? He's covering Toronto FC this week. And then the This Week in MLS crew, Kaylin and Susanna, braving the cold. Guys, how's it going out there?
Wiebe, it's a little chilly, and you guys talking about hot chicken isn't helping. But no, honestly, it is amazing being here in Toronto. We are basking in the glow of this beautiful trophy. That's what it's all about. And we're up to some fun stuff here, huh?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. We were in the studio before. The players are going to feel like a long couple days waiting for the match but we get to enjoy it.
We do,
going
and
around
we're
town
going to
seeing the
try our
fans.
best to stay warm. But right now, we're going to send it back to you in that toasty studio.
Yeah, it's going to be plenty warm at all the parties you guys are going to. Don't think I know what I'm missing out on here. You're going to have a great time. Follow them at MLSsoccer.com. And, of course, all four coming back in just a little bit here on MLS Cup Central. We'll have them every single night.
Why was Gasman dressed like a fugitive from justice? That's
I don't
what
know.
he looked like he was breaking into cars.
Yeah, it looks like an extra from Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
but I think he's got the insight on Josie Altidor's injury and maybe some other things Toronto related. So we'll get to him in just a little bit here. Of course, you are a part of the show. We are giving away MLS match balls and MLS replica balls. You can see them right here. Think about showing up to pick up on the weekend with one of these bad boys. Keep that thing out of the water. You do not want to lose this, and you can get your questions, comments, everything in MLSsoccer.com/playoffs. If you make it on the show, Andrew and Sean have already been entered. You will be eligible to win one of these bad boys, which brings us to Duncan Wilgos, who asks, guys, who have been the most important additions to each team since last year's final? And I'm going to take that a little bit of a different direction. Still going to answer the question.
It's your thing tonight.
It is my thing tonight. These are the two teams that played in last year's final, but they didn't sit on their hands. They didn't say, oh, we got a good enough team to get there. Let's just stick with what we've got. They made changes. Let's start with the defending champions. Scraped their way into the playoffs last year. Won MLS Cup. This year, 53 points, second in the Western Conference, just tiebreaker had the Timbers above them. The Seattle Sounders, Garth Lagerwey, Brian Schmetzer, they went out and got some guys that shored up this team. Gustav Smitson in the midfield, Victor Rodriguez, Kevin Leardam, Will Bruin, Nuhu, Harry Shipp. What they've done, Tim, is absolutely incredible, and it's the reason why they're here today.
Yeah, I think Garth did an exceptional job going out and finding players that had experience within this league and guys that he knew that he can rely on. If maybe there was an injury in one position, he can slot in a different person. And I think you've seen that throughout the season. You're getting huge contributions from Bruin, where maybe a lot of people weren't expecting that, and he's having a phenomenal season. And then all the other guys maybe playing supporting cast, but doing an exceptional job as well.
That's Clint Dempsey. He's decent. And we didn't know if he was going to play this year. That heart issue was so scary for Clint and his family, of course, but for everyone who enjoys his game, Julian, and to have him back, that gives this team a difference maker. And difference makers are something you know plenty about being in Atlanta this year.
Yeah, like you said, he is a difference maker, and he can be definitely a difference maker in this game. You know, all he needs is one chance, one maybe even a half chance to create a goal, and then they win the game 1-0 or something. You know, so it's definitely a good guy to have on the field.
And it makes sense the way they use him as well. They kind of give him that free role just underneath the striker, and Bruin does such a good job of just being, you know, a basic, fundamentally sound striker. He makes the right runs. He does a little bit of hold-up play, and has better vision than I think people realize. But he just basically clears a path for Dempsey. And when Dempsey can just find those spots, that has to give a defense a lot of trouble, and certainly did to Houston and to Vancouver in that second leg.
Yeah, 3 goals scored so far in these playoffs. That is the most in MLS. Clint Dempsey, he is productive. He is a danger man. He is not somebody that Toronto FC want to see with the ball in the 18 come Saturday. Let's talk playoffs, because Dempsey, we haven't really talked to Christian Roldan. He's been incredible. Jovan Jones has become the assist man. But, Tim, you know a thing or two about defense. And this Seattle Sounders team hasn't allowed a goal in the playoffs. 4 straight shutouts, 6 straight shutouts overall. 12 of their last 18 have been shutouts. They have a 650-minute playoff shutout streak going back to last year. I mean, Roman Torres, Chad Marshall, Stefan Fry, Leardam, all these guys, incredible effort from them.
Yeah, it really is just impressive. They're a cohesive group. They know how to defend as a team, which is super important in these big games. And they're a team that's capable of weathering storms and then hitting you maybe on a counter.
And it comes out of a lot of things, but to me, it's that central defensive pairing. Marshall and Torres together, they haven't lost since March. Toronto's still the favorite, and there's a lot of things that suggest that Toronto is going to win this game, but that's a pretty strong point in favor of Seattle, having those two guys together.
You see Will Bruin scoring a goal there. He's been great. We haven't talked about Nico Odero. We're sitting here praising the Sounders, Julian, and we're not talking about one of the best midfielders in the league. Give the man some love.
Yeah, I mean, he's also one of those guys that can, change the game in an instant. And you have a lot of those on both teams, I think, this year, but yeah, definitely for Seattle. I mean, they've said it, I think, as a team. They know that when they stay organized and play and defend organized, then they can then kind of play their strengths going forward as well. And they kind of make life difficult for other attackers and other teams in general.
And Stefan Fry actually said that this week. Mm-hmm. He's like, we have no intention of playing an open game. we're not going to go out and let people run everywhere. We are going to keep it compact and keep them in front of us.
I mean, they have reason to think that and say that, right? 0-0 last year, you win a cup, you make history, you have a parade through downtown Seattle. That's what's up. Our own Jillian Sakovits is in Toronto. She is waiting for Seattle to arrive, and she's standing by now.
Yeah, Andrew, that's right. We are waiting for them. I'm told that their flight is going to touch down here in Toronto in about 45 minutes, and then shortly after, they will be coming right here to the team hotel, the same team hotel they stayed at last season, but this time, Andrew, with very different attitudes. This week, I think Brian Schmetzer put it best. He said, you know what? Last year, we were playing with house money. This year, he said, this year, you know what? Yeah. Last year we were playing with house money. This year we're earning our paychecks. So I caught up with a guy that's around this team every single day, Matt Pence, and he knows their mindset coming in here today. And check out what he had to say.
All right, thank you, Jillian. A little bit of technical issue there. Matt Pence, we'll talk to him later. He's on the ground for ESPN, so check his coverage out as well. Let's turn to Toronto FC, the home side guys. I got Matt's take on that. We know all about the numbers. We know what they've done this season. 69 points, 20 wins, yada, yada, yada. This team's regular season was incredible, but it's easy to forget it didn't start that way. 1-1-4 to get things started, and then they had a little bit of a lull at the end of the season. Players take in the locker room. You guys are hanging out after training, Tim. What are you saying about this team? Are you talking about Toronto FC?
We are. They're a good team. They're a good team front to back. They have a lot of talent all over the field. The one thing that impressed me throughout the season, they have some marquee guys, and when those guys were out, other guys stepped up and filled those spots no problem. And I think the depth on this team has been very impressive.
You saw them late in the season, Julian. That was a game.
Yeah, it was a good game. Unfortunately, we didn't get that win that we needed. Yeah, it was. They're the best team in the league. They were all season, all regular season. Yeah, but now it's a different time. It's just one game now. All the kind of regular season and everything else goes out the window because it all comes down to 90 minutes.
Difference makers. Let's go back to Duncan's question. He wanted to know about additions to these two teams. Though Victor Vasquez, a best 11 addition. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah, they added strength upon strength, and Victor Vasquez is actually a guy who they had targeted for a DP a couple of years back and couldn't quite get him and had to settle for Javinko instead. This is a team with basically
just the MVP.
Yeah, right. This is a team with basically 4 attacking DPs, and they got Chris Mavinga at the back as well, who I think has been an underrated addition to that back line. And Nicholas Hassler has done good work at right wing back as well. But if you bring it back to Vasquez, after MLS Cup last year, Toronto dominated that game, and they were the better team. And they said to a man afterwards, we just needed one thing: we needed a little more creativity in central midfield. So they went out and they got a guy who's in the prime of his career and went out and 9 goals and 17 assists this season. So that's a pretty good addition right there.
Yeah, you matched up directly with him, Julian, in that game. What did you see from Victor Vasquez? What makes him tough to contain?
Makes life very tough for central midfielders that try to cover him because he kind of likes to roam. He kind of pops open in different spots. He's sometimes even goes out all the way to the touchline. And it's really tough for a central midfielder if you defend to go all the way out there with him. So he definitely tries to find open spots all over the attacking half of the field, and I'm sure he'll do so again on Saturday.
Seattle has rolled through here. We talked about those shutouts. They hadn't had much trouble so far. Knocked down Vancouver Whitecaps big time. 5-0 aggregate against the Houston Dynamo. Meanwhile, Toronto FC, and Greg Vanney kind of alluded to it. He said, hey, look, Seattle haven't been really tested in this playoff run. Meanwhile, we have had to push through the rough and tumble Eastern Conference, the Red Bulls, Crew SC, 2 really, really tight series. They haven't looked dominant, though. Is that an issue for you? Is that a difference in the way they're playing? Are they hitting a downturn here?
I don't think at all. I actually think that Vanney's very smart with how he worded that. Seattle's a team that's going to sit in and they want to defend. They want to win this game 0-0 and sneak a goal or win in penalties. And what Vanney is, I think, attempting to do is light a fire under Seattle a little bit. Get those guys frustrated that he's talking about the team and kind of pull them out of their shape and open them up. And that's where an area that Toronto could really hurt them.
Brian Schmetzer came out and threw cold water on that, by the way.
Yeah, he did. He wasn't playing along with our
but maybe they're reading the clips. Who knows?
Maybe they are. I do wonder though, if winning, having such a dominant regular season and then winning the Supporters' Shield so early and basically uncontested, maybe the foot came off the pedal a little bit. And I don't know. Everybody wants to think in Toronto that you can just flick a switch and you're back to playing the way they were, in midsummer when they were just steamrolling teams. But I don't know if you can get back to that right away. I mean, is it possible? You roll out of bed one day and suddenly you're playing your A+ best game?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. But we'll definitely see on Saturday. I mean, they are a good team. We all know that, and they can play an outstanding brand of soccer. And if that shows on Saturday, then I think they're gonna beat Seattle. And I mean, Seattle's not gonna make it easy on them, but Toronto will definitely be up for the task.
Big question: is Jozy Altidore healthy? Is that ankle going to be at full strength? He has been rehabbing early this week, has not been training. They've been trying to get him back to that point. They've been very coy about his status. David Goss is on the ground in Toronto, and he has got more on Jozy Altidore and TFC.
Yeah, Andrew, I sat down with Jozy earlier today at training. He had some interesting things to say about the emphasis, about the pressure on this game. He said that he thinks this is a long-term project and that this one match won't decide what they're building at this club. As you said, the big story around Jozy, though, is that ankle injury that he picked up in the second leg against Columbus. When I asked him about it, he looked down and said, the ankle, it's all right. It'll get there some way, somehow. He then went on to say to our coworker, Octavio Sequeiro, this is a final. If I have to play with one shoulder to be out there with my brothers, I will. In other breaking news, Doyle, it's freezing in Toronto in December. That's why I look this way. You want to get out of that armchair, you're welcome to come on up. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Dave. It's nice and comfortable here. We'll let you guys do the legwork there in Toronto. A little bit jealous we won't be there for the game, but yeah, it feels nice. These lights, they're really bright right now. Jozy Altidore, how big, Tim, would it be if he's not 100%?
He is an important piece of this puzzle, but they've played plenty of games this season without him. Obviously, you want him. He's probably one of the first guys you put on the team sheet, but if he's not out there, for me, it's not make or break for this team. I think they're a very good team with and without him.
You got Jovinko still. He's decent. That'll work for you. Let's go to some fan questions right now. Remember, MLSsoccer.com/playoffs is your spot to hit us with your hot takes, questions, whatever it may be. A couple of balls every single day on the line. You can be a winner. Jared Kerr asks, this year, the East has been significantly better than the West. I'm sorry. Do you think that will continue next season? Do you agree, Tim?
Unfortunately, I have to say yes. I do think the East was stronger this year with some of the expansion coming in, some other teams kind of hitting their stride with Chicago, turning around their season. I think Columbus is a very good team. I think this season they had it, but I hope that transitions to a different story next year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that the East, and if you look at it, I think the NYCFC will be back maybe even better next year because they're going to have that Pirlo DP slot, and I think the Red Bulls will still be around next year. With the West, we've already seen it, man. Two of the teams that made the playoffs got rid of their coaches. Two other teams, Houston and Vancouver, are doing essentially rebuilds. I know Kansas City are still quality team defensively, but there are obvious questions in the attack. Seattle's the only one you look at and say next year, yeah, this team's going to be good again. And I think Seattle's window for contention stays open one more year.
Well, what about LAFC? Everybody seems to forget about those. I'm an expansion team guy now that kind of believes in them. So I'm pretty excited about them, to be honest, and we'll see if they can maybe elevate
the battle for Los Angeles, man.
Bob Bradley, Carswell. We'll see what else they bring in. Another question here from Erin Knowlton. She wants to know how many times has the same team won MLS Cup in back-to-back years? We've got the answer for you. Of course, DC United, 97, 98, Houston Dynamo, 07, 08, LA Galaxy, 13, 14. If my math is on, we're about a decade in between all of those.
Yeah, your math is on, but your research is off. It was DC 96, 97, and LA 11, 12. But it was close.
That's a good point. Yeah, I can't read right now. It's fine.
Google is hard.
Google is hard for everybody, unfortunately. Look, we're going to have more coming for you on Thursday and Friday, as well as Saturday. Diego Valeri, Tim Melia, Julian Gressel, these two, plus the MVP tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Come, we will talk about everything going down in this game, make some grades, make some predictions as well. On Friday, Dax McCarty and Ike Opara will be in the studio. Then Saturday, Dax and Ike will join us again as we do pregame and postgame. And then the big game, 4 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, Unimas, TSN, and TVA Sports in Canada. We start at 3 p.m. Eastern on the pregame. TSN pregame, for those of you up north, is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Stick around. It ought to be a lot of fun. In the meantime, there's so much going on in Toronto. We are missing the parties. Kaylin and Susanna are not. Susanna's hanging out there. Susanna, what's up?
No, Weeby, I'm telling you, it's lit here, if that's what the kids are saying. No, we're having a great time here in Toronto. We both arrived here today. There's definitely a little bit of a buzz starting to build up here in the city. And having been here last year and seeing how disappointed the Toronto fans were after the loss, they're pretty excited. And we talked to one specifically today.
Yeah, I mean, the supporter culture is also something that separates both these clubs.
Yeah.
And we went to a local pub, the Football Factory, to talk to one of their co-owners, Pat Penman, about his experience not just as an owner, but also a huge TFC fan.
All right, so Caitlin and I are hanging out at the Football Factory here in Toronto. We're with the owner, Pat Penman. You and your wife own this place, and this is the spot to watch TFC games, correct?
That's what I'd say, for sure. You know, we've been
required
around since 2007, the same time Toronto FC has been around first. I'd say that, any originals and all the devotees, this is the place to be, the first church of football.
Why was it important to set up a bar here for TFC?
Well, in Toronto, we didn't have a we still really, I think we're the only real true football-specific bar, where that's the mainstay of our business. I remember being a kid, I used to sell tickets to the Toronto Blizzard, the NASL days back in the day, and I remember what it was like not having a pro team for 30 years. So the moment we got the word, that's when the Football Factory was conceived.
So Pat, I've heard stories about how crazy it was here last year for MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Are you expecting the same scenes, and what was that like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone loves a grudge match, so I think you might want to double the response for sure. But last season, I mean, it was incredible, especially with the added time, the penalty shootout. We were having a real hard time keeping up with inventory because it was, people here for a lot longer than we expected, and
Don't tell me you ran out of beers.
Well, not quite, but some brands we couldn't keep up with. That's for sure. So this year we're doubling our initiative to make sure that we can deal with anything that we have to, because we figure it's going to be twice as big as last year. So
you think it's going to be quite the scene here on Saturday?
We pack it up, So I believe last year we had the whole patio. It was like -10, and we had the patio set up with TVs on the patio, and people were in their parkas watching. So.
We were at the game last year, and it was a little cold, so I gotta say, being inside wouldn't be the worst option, right?
Susanna, save some beers for Saturday.
We
Come on.
shall. All right.
Warm up here by the fireplace all week.
I like this. This is nice. Very atmospheric. We got to get your prediction, though, for the result.
TFC 2-0.
2-0. I like it. Pat, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, so a huge thanks to Pat at the Football Factory. A great place to watch the game if you're in town. Kaylin and I are going to be in and around checking out the scene here this week. We're going to have some fun. We will send it back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a great time out there in Toronto. The first ever MLS Cup Central going down right now. Let's flash back to the first ever MLS Cup, an absolute classic. DC United, the winners here. Thanks for the correction, Matt, by the way. Jaime Moreno, Echeverry, Eddie Pope. What a header. What a dramatic game in the driving rain.
Yeah, as you said, it's a dramatic game. I think it's still the most dramatic, maybe best MLS Cup ever. Not necessarily for the quality of play, because it was a typhoon that day. You couldn't kick the ball on the ground more than 3 yards. But look at the names of the guys who scored. Chris Armas, Tanque Hurtado for the Galaxy. Pope got one. Tony Sane. Obviously, guys like Cienfuegos, Echeverry, Jaime Moreno. We talk about what Atlanta's done with getting these South American guys with high profile. That's what Marco Echeverry was 21 years ago when he came to MLS. He had been third in the balloting for Copa America or CONMEBOL Player of the year before, and you could make an argument that is still the best team in MLS history. Those early DC United teams.
He's still got the mullet. I want everyone out there to know that I hung out with Marco and Jaime earlier this year at the closing of RFK. It was absolutely incredible. Legends, both of them. Let's hit the current legends on the field. I think they've got a case to make this year and in the coming years. We're going to do scouting reports on every single positional group, and we just so happen that we have a goalkeeper here, and that's convenient because Eddie Lemon hit us up. He says, who has the advantage at goalkeeper? He also said, go Sounders. So, Tim, I kind of think he has a feeling here. I want you to start with Stefan Fry, who everyone remembers as the MVP of MLS Cup 2016, the incredible pot-away save on Josie Altidore. Strengths of Stefan Fry. If you're trying to score on him, what makes it difficult?
The strength that sticks out the most to me is his technical ability. I think it's something that's kept him in the upper echelon of the goalkeeper statistics for many seasons. You can kind of see it in the last game against Houston. Two very difficult saves that he made look very easy because of his body positioning, his hand positioning, being able to hold the ball and not giving up a rebound. Also, I just think his presence, his composure, and his confidence amongst the group. You know, he plays with this type of mentality. He's like, I've been there, I've done this, and I think his team can feel that.
You said composure, and to me that's the thing that's always stuck out about Stephen Fry. When he comes off the line, he stays composed and he stays brave, and because of that, he stays big. He doesn't give up easy angles for attackers, and that's huge.
Got to have that anchor in behind the defense. Yes, it's about the back four, but everyone you talk to will call it a back five who does this thing as a profession. You direct, you let the guys know what's going on, and he's lucky to have 4 really good defenders in front of him. Same thing goes for Alex Bono. Sometimes it's 5, 2 wing backs, sometimes it's 4. Greg Vanney's been experimenting a little bit, Doyle, but Alex Bono is a young guy that we really like. I'll get to your opinion in a second. We've got a goalkeeper here. Tim, give me his strengths.
I think his biggest strength is coming off the line. Playing on a team like Toronto that plays with really aggressive fullbacks, it's a necessity to be able to cover that space in behind the team. He's got to make sure he's connected to the center backs, and I think he's done that. As you can see here, this is a huge save in the sense that he's 6-7 yards off his line, comes out, smothers the ball, makes this save look really easy. This is a very difficult
BWP
save.
is going to be thinking about that one for a long time. That could have been the difference in this series.
And that's a huge moment in the game. That's game-changing right there. And then I just think something that's going to be overlooked a little bit is his competitiveness. You know, he's in a position where all year he was fighting for that number 1 spot. You know, day-to-day challenge and trying to maintain the mentality to present confidence to your team and all that. It's difficult, and it's something that he should be proud of right now, taking that number 1 jersey.
What a save from Alex Bono there. He needs some of those perhaps in this game. Clint Dempsey, Nico Lodero, Victor Rodriguez, Will Bruin, the like will be testing him. Dave Goss is out in Toronto with John Conway. Why John Conway? Because he's the goalkeeper coach of Toronto FC. He coached both Fry, or played with him, excuse me, and now coaches Alex Bono. Dave, take it away, man. Break this thing down.
John, when you think about Alex Bono and you talk about him, what's his skill sets? What are the attributes that make him a great keeper?
You know, obviously, we look at a couple different things, but for me, he's done a great job of making the saves he needs to make, especially at critical times during the match, and as you can see during the playoffs. He's done a great job of sort of intervening on plays, making good decisions coming out and collecting balls, breaking up dangerous actions before they happen. So those 2 things for me have stood out, especially in the last 10 games or so.
One of the unique things about your team is this 3-man backline.
Yeah.
How has he been taught? How has he worked as a communicator, as a leader, along with Drew Moore back there?
His communication has been great. Does a great job of putting himself in positions to receive balls and move the ball along in our back 3 formation. Obviously, with Drew as a veteran, they've linked up and now have a great understanding of each other, and I think that bodes well for both. Obviously, Drew gets confidence with Bones behind him, and Bones gives confidence to them with the saves and decisions that he makes.
John, you're part of the goalkeeper union. You actually played here in Toronto with the opposing goalkeeper in Stephen Fry. What do you see in him as a goalkeeper, as a pro?
Obviously, I'm happy for Steph. He's gone on from the time we spent here and has had a great career. He put his work in early, got a ton of games, a ton of experience, and that experience is shown through now, especially with the years that he's had in Seattle, where they've gone to playoffs, gone and won the championship, obviously against us, unfortunately. But he's a great goalkeeper. He continues to make saves and really keeps his team in it. I'm happy for him, but obviously as a competitor this weekend, I'm going to go out and hopefully get it from him what he got from us last year.
If you're showing tape of him to your young goalkeeper in Alex Bono, what are you trying to highlight? What are you trying to focus on?
What he does well is obviously he puts himself in a good position to make a save. He reacts well. His reactions are quick. He's more of a guy who stands back closer to his line. If he gets a chance to make an opportunity to make a save from in tight, he does it. He always seems to get a paul on something. So, something along those lines where we talk about it, you want to get a hand to anything and everything that's put on your goal and try and keep it out. And he does an amazing job of that.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dave, for your work on the ground in Toronto. And big thanks to Jillian and Kaylin and Susanna. We'll be hearing from them later in the week. And apologies to Matt Pence. We will get to you as well. So much insight to come here on MLS Cup Central. Of course, there's a tail of the tape here. We got to make a choice. And, Tim, you're the one the responsibility falls on. Fill it in for us, goalkeeper. We'll hit defender, midfield, forwards, bench, and coaching and tactics later on in these shows. Who's getting the edge? Toronto? Seattle?
The future is bright in the TFC goalkeeper department, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Fry for this game.
Stephen Fry, defending MLS Cup MVP. I think that is a logical choice, not to take anything away from Alex Bono. He could change this game as well. And you can change the show by hitting us with questions, comments, hot takes. MLSsoccer.com/playoffs is your spot to do so. We've got one from Frank Garibay. He says, do you guys consider Seattle a dynasty if they win this MLS Cup. If they do, that would be an Open Cup, a Shield, and 2 MLS Cups in 4 years, Doyle. Would they be a dynasty?
To me, that's a dynasty, but I admit it is a little bit weird because there's a coaching change in the middle of that, and you usually don't have coaching changes in the middle of a dynastic run. But if you look back at what this team has accomplished, really since Clint Dempsey arrived in late 2013, and then over the next 4 full seasons, 4 trophies, like 1 Open Cup, 1 Shield, and if they win, it'll be 2 MLS Cups. If it's not a dynasty, it's borderline. It's right there.
You seem skeptical, Tim.
I'm a little skeptical. Yeah, obviously winning those trophies I wish I did it, but I think there just needs to be a little bit more consistency in the league during the regular season. Climbing up the ladder in the playoffs and just making sure you're consistent.
Nice to sit next to a Supporters Shield truther. I'm the same way, man. Supporters Shield for life.
All right, we will see who wins this thing. Of course, on the other side, Toronto FC, they've got a lot at stake at 2 straight years. If they lost this thing at home, that would be heartbreaking for them. Of course, the big game, 4 p.m. Eastern, MLS Cup on Saturday. ESPN, Unimas in the U.S., TSN and TVA Sports. If you're watching north of the border, TSN goes live with their pregame at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Our pregame hits at 3 o'clock, so you are covered from the 3 p.m. hour on. And, of course, on Thursday and Friday, MLS Cup Central at 7 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, Diego Valeri joins these 2 guys. Tim Melia and Julian Gressel, and then Ike Opara and Dax McCarty come in to clean things up on Friday and Saturday. Remember, get at us. You can get some of these official MLS game balls to play a pickup, to put up in your house, to give to your kid, whatever it might be, MLSsoccer.com/playoffs. Julian Gressel, Tim Melia, that's Matt Doyle. I am Andrew Wiebe. Thank you so much for watching MLS Cup Central. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m., everybody.